This stuff here in Yerushalmi Pesachim, the article Ozver edition, we're on Daf Zayin and Aleph. Rabbi Chanina Boy, which is the third line down. And that is on Daf Hayom and Beis in the Vilna. It's about halfway down the page. So starting from the bottom, 3, 6, 9, 12 lines to the bottom, first words in line. Why don't they do what we normally do when we want to say it's almost Shabbos Yard to blow tkiyos, right? We always do that. You blow tkiyah, right? So let's blow a tkiyah in order to distinguish between the time when you can eat, the time you have to burn. Why these other simanim? It's usually used to kiss. Amar said, if you say that, you come out saying that Omer, you come out saying, some people say, Shemel Tamid Hain Tokin, Hain Miskalkalin. So maybe they're doing the tkiyah for the carbon tamid. Now, there's a bit of a chiddush that you do the tkiyas for the carbon tamid shel shachris. He brings down here the art scroll that every day when they did the Nisach Hayayin of the tamid shel shachris, Levine would say shira. They would see 3 prakim of shira. At the end of each parak, they would stop and they would blow at once a series of tkiyah, true tkiyah. Therefore, they blew 9 tkiyahs for tamid shel shachar. This is Rashi and Sukkah Daf Nun Gimel and Beis. The recitation tamid shel shachar. Okay, so this is so therefore people might think, oh, these are the tkiyahs tamid shel shachar, even though it's pretty late for tamid shel shachar. But okay, the figure got delayed. Amalei Votni, they didn't learn shosh avtilas am. Well, standard. That's when it's also the standard sign to be battle to tell people Erev Shabbos you don't have to stop working is 3 tkiyos when they've stopped working, and 3 then when it actually is time to start Shabbos. So why we're not afraid they're going to mistake that it's the tkiyos of time it should be on buying. Amalei said, "Tamakol Erev Shabbos to Shabbos Haim Tokin Beinam Toim." There, people know this happens every week. They're accustomed to it, so they know that this is the sign for Erev Shabbos. They're not going to know in the middle of the day. I guess the analogy nowadays is that a place was used an alarm to tell you that it's 40 minutes or 20 minutes before Shabbos, so the people know that's the right time. That's the alarm. They hear the alarm in the morning, they're going to think it's an alarm for a fire or something. So therefore, it has to be in a way which people are accustomed to knowing what it means. But that's he says here. There every time every Shabbos in talking about time. From achas lekitzini, this is once in a very long time. So therefore, it's not people are not going to realize what it's for. So again, if we said it like this, then they use the tkiyos. So people are going to say, at the time of night, they're going to say, okay, it must be the tkiyos of the tamid. And they'll say, well, they made a mistake with the first tamid. Maybe this is the tamid got delayed, whatever. And the Hamas Kachli, they're not going to realize what the purpose of this tkiyos here. Okay, so now we go to the next part of the Mishnah, where Ram Gamliel said Truma can be in all 5 hours for the entire 5th hour. Truma kol chamish. So that was saying the lama. It says that the Pnei Moshe lama truma nechaz kol chamish. Why? Imnei kedushas, it's because of its holiness. Or imnei she'ein ochlem b'tzuyin, or because it can't find so many people to eat it. Kamo chulin, kamo chulin. Shehi ein achas l'kwanim. Only Kwan can eat it. For the field, that's they ever get an additional hour between 10 and 11 to eat it. So that's when I asked them if imnei kedushas or mishum she'ein ochlem b'tzuyin. Manavine, what's the difference? What's the difference? What the reason is? Chalos Torah. Chalos Torah again. Yerushalmi with the shita. They obviously the Torah was brought in Erev Pesach. If we're going to say that there aren't people prevalent to eat, so Elochem Mitzir, we're not going to make a Chalos Torah because there are lots of people to eat Torahs because they're Mutzah Luzari. Except for the 4 Chalos of Jim Kohanim, the rest of them are Mutzah Luzari. Item Neklusha. So if we're going to say of its kedusha. Elish Kedusha, well, these also have Kedusha. So therefore, also for them, they should get the extension of the additional hour. So Mar resolves question based on a new a statement by Rabbi Nosson, different than our Mishnah. Rabbi Nosson Omer that the Chalos Toda, which we mentioned in the Mishnah as being the sign when you're tolling and when you're surfing, ksheros, they're kosher, and nitlu, they're both taken away at the beginning of the fifth hour. Evidently, he's going specifically according to Gamliel. He's saying they're both taken away at the beginning of the fifth hour. And you wait an hour for them to eat. For totally below surfing. And that hour, the people who saw this, they would be told as their own chametz and not be sorif. But chalos toda, says Rabbi Nosson, according to Gamliel, during that hour you could eat them. So so here, can you say and therefore you give an extra hour? No, it's chalos toda. Anybody can eat them. There's more. No, must be mnei kedushasa. If you can eat them in the fifth hour, it must be that you can eat chalos toda on account of their kedusha. And chalos toda included in the same matter. So before she bring down the Tal Torah asked the question. Other people asking near the Tal Torah. Others ask the question, I guess. How do you know the chalos Torah we're talking about here are the 36 chalos Torah which are mutter l'zarim? Maybe the 4 chalos Torah which are only mutter the kohanim. Maybe those are the ones. So various answers given. But I think the Pasha answers, if so, somebody should have said so. It was those chalos Torah, dafka the ones which the kohanim got, and those attack only with the kohanim, and have they don't have enochle mitzuyin, which would have told us that we're talking about those chalos Torah. Since not telling us that just as chalos Torah stam includes also 36 other chalos which are mutar to l'zarim, and therefore there are ochle mitzuyim. So on account of ochle mitzuyim, wouldn't have to give an extra hour. Why are you giving an extra hour? It must be on account of the kedusha. Okay, the reason why I make it by Truma is because of the additional kedusha of Truma. Rabbi and Pazi said near dvarim shetei halacha kram Gamliel. It seems that halacha should be Gamliel shomer me'ain shneim. So he says something which is takes into account both opinions. So. Let's see the according here. Age name. He says shumach kimachri. It's like he's bringing achron, which always means like he's taking middle ground between the two extremes. Mil machri mamish lava. He's not really taking middle ground. The dash lishis is really third opinion. The Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda lo Ari the Levi Shayach Chiluk ben Zman Shuma Zman Chulin Klau. And Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, they argued about the fifth hour, but they didn't say anything about Truma versus anything else. They would the just said it's mutzah to eat the fifth hour. You're told the fifth hour, and don't eat it. So, and my mayor said no, you're allowed to eat the fifth hour. So he's not taking one aspect of Meir, one aspect of you, the Rangamli come with the third shita. No, they weren't talking about this. It would have said that Rabbi Meir says both chulin and chumik eat all 5 hours. It would say both chulin and chumik only eat until the end of the 4 hours. Gamliel come and say machriya. Chulin or till 10, Truma till 11. Have echra, that would be a true echra. It's not really echra because he's not taking one element of this, one element of that. So therefore, eladashli, she's third opinion, but it's mainstream since it comes in the middle. So therefore, it's similar to both of them. You know the reason why we pass like a machriya because it kind of like makes a rove. He goes now we have two opinions. Versus one on one aspect, two opinions versus one on the other aspect. So it's not really the same thing, but it's it's similar to that concept. Okay. After Rabbi Avun, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon, Yod Tzog said, "Halok Gamliel Shomer Me'ain Shneim." He says the same thing, but of course in the Bavli, the Paskins Rabbi Yehuda, because of what the Mekormei says, and it's not really a machriya, it's really a third opinion, and therefore they don't pass with the Pascal Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, halach above, the famous sugya of chinas kana koinim. From all the days of the Kohanim, when they serve in the base of Mikdash. They did not refrain from burning meat which became tummy with a bladder which now it's a shein l'tuma. In Boshin avatum with meat which became tummy with an avatum which is a rishon tuma. Abishim nosifim tuma al tumaso, even though they are adding tuma to its tuma. So as the Korban points out, seems to be a fallacy here, right? What are you adding tuma? Okay, this is a Rishon, this is a Sheni. So the Rishon is touching the Sheni. But the Rishon doesn't make the Sheni to a Rishon. The Sheni remains a Sheni. So how's adding Tuma? Lokam Rishon Vlad Tuma Noga Bachshav Chaytim Noga Vlad Tuma. Touching Vlad Tuma again. So, okay, it's a good question, right? The Gemara have to deal with it. Okay, so Gemara says a very famous machlokes several times in Yerushalmi. And it's a Barka, and we've quoted in the past. Ma'aser Sheni, and come to later on Shkolim. Barka Barmar Ava Tuma Dvar Torah. And Ava Tuma is Dvar Torah, Vlada Tuma Divreim. Vlada Tuma is only Drabanan. Rabbi Yochanan Bein Zeh Dvar Torah. So now the Pnei Moshe explains. Ava Tuma Dvar Torah Klomar Tum also Tamei Achem Min Torah. Ava Tuma is Tamei other things is Midar Raisa. The Chsiv Kosher Yigaba Tamei Hitma. Anything which the Tamei touches becomes Tamei. Hatame avatuma. The tame means something which is avatuma. Shinagam mace. Avatuma which was touched the mace, which is avia basatuma, or any other avatuma. Bashei gabo, and that which is touched at rishon. Avo that becomes a rishon, which is a vladatuma. Avo vladatuma tame chem divrem. But that of vladatuma shim tame anything else is midrabanan. Svili bakapar the ain't sheni l'tuma minatera. There's no such thing as a sheni l'tuma minatera. Rabbi Yochanan said, "B'amay bein zeh ben zeh the Dvar Torah." The Torah miksiv habas shigab b'chol tamei lo yachel. The meat which touches anything which is tamei shouldn't be eaten. Milos ken nagav rishon. Anything which is tamei includes a rishon. V'avel sheni. The makes a sheni. Amal yesh sheni to min Torah. So there's a sheni to midoraisa. So according to Bar Kapara, that there's no such thing as a sheni to midoraisa. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there is a sheni to midoraisa. I might mention to my Sheni, there seems to be that the Rambam passes like Bar Kapara. But in any event, it's a very basic machlokes, which only brought the Yerushalmi, not brought the Bavli. Okay, so the Gemara says, Al daiti to Bar Kapara nicha. According to Bar Kapara, our Mishnah is good. Now, as Moshe points out, it's not great. It might be good, but it's not great. Basically, what it means is that you have meat which is tummy doraisa, because the avatuma makes a blood doraisa, so the meat which touched the avatum is tamei daraisa, and you have meat which is Torah daraisa, because it only came down with a vladatuma. So it's a sheni, but it's only drabanan a sheni. Daraisa it's still Torah. So it's inappropriate to mix. It should be inappropriate to mix together, even in burning, something which is tamei daraisa, something which is Torah daraisa, something which is something which is tamei daraisa, something which is Torah daraisa. So that's why the Mishnah telling Chiddush that even though this is Torah daraisa and this is Tamei daraisa, I should say the other way around. Even though this is Tamei daraisa and this is Torah daraisa, you putting them together. It's like being moisif tumal tumaso. Now, why is it not great? As Moshe points out, what do you mean? You're not being you're not actually being moisif tuma, right? Because it's not becoming tamei. Yes, it's true. You mix together something which is tamei daraisa, something with Torah daraisa, but that doesn't make the second thing tamei. So, what's the problem with mixing them together? So, on account of this difficulty, the Korban Eidah and almost all the other Mefarshim learn the Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Bar Kapara, not kipshuto, not the way we learned it. Now they say Bar Kapara says avatum dvar Torah vlatum divrei. He's not making a categorical statement about Avatuma in general, Vladatuma in general is saying, no, the Avatuma in our Mishnah is the Raisa, and the Vladatuma in our Mishnah is Midrabanan. And then Rabbi Yochanan saying, Benzu, Devar Torah, that both the Avatuma in our Mishnah and the Vladatuma in our Mishnah are the Raisa. And then the Gemara says that I bar kapara nicha, because then okay, taking the rabbanon and making the raisa, that's a problem. Whereas according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's about the rice already. What are you adding? There's no additional level of tuma, as we're going to see momentarily. But it's not. It doesn't seem that that's the pshat in the machlokas Rabbi Yochanan. But apart from the other place where it appears in the Yerushalmi, it seems that it's actually a machlokas in principle whether avatuma is the rice or not. And in fact, in the Rambam, which I mentioned before, in Parak Beis Beis Yud Gimel, that's clearly the way the Rambam wrote it. As he says there. Paris Meister Shein should be Yerushalayim B'Dayan. Paris Meister which should become Yerushalayim. He didn't need to move Vlada Tuma. Came to Vlada Tuma. Also, Tzir out, leave him out, take him out to Yerushalayim. Eliyochel B'Fnin. They got to be inside Yerushalayim. They should Vlada Tuma meet Ivreim. Because Vlada Tuma is only Tuma the Rabbanon. The Ava Tuma, it's different. So the the source of that is as Kesef Mishnah says. The Parish Bar Kapara Yerushalmi. So it's very difficult to say that Bar Kapara really holds it is Vlad Raisa, but our mission is about Vlad Rabbanan. Again, the reason they're saying that is because there's difficulty. Why is it better for Bar Kapara? Right. So, but and that's where you have to come. And the only way to explain it is that the Pnei Moshe explains it, which is to say, as I'm going to read Pnei Moshe inside. He says, true in terms of adding the tuma, there's no addition. Right? Because Nidma Vlada Tuma says it became a sheni. So therefore, it remain a sheni. Now, because it's touching the Rishon. So what? Mias iko sofa shame to me yesh chiluk ben basar zel basar zeh. There's a sofa of tuma because there's a chiluk between this meat and that meat. Zen ma vlada tuma ein lo shum tuma mina Torah midivrayim ba'alma. This became tummy through a vlada tuma has no tuma mida rice at all. It's only midivrayim. Basar shnag avatuma yesh tumas arch mina Torah. And the basar which became tummy touched avatuma has a tuma intrinsic tuma mida rice. So the bade when you turn them. They burn them together, have a kiss or a basar tummy mina Torah, bade basar tummy mina Torah. It says that if you're burning me, which is Torah mida rice, me, which is tummy mida rice. Okay, but so that's the only way to learn the Gemara according to the Pnei Moshe. How it's nicha again, it might be good, but it's not great. In any event, that's Rabbi Yochanan. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the Gemara goes on. Avatuma said Rishon. Right, the avatuma makes something Rishon. Vladatuma is a sheni. Vladatuma makes a sheni. Sheni shenagab Rishon, so Sheni was just touching the Rishon. Hareim Mekayim Sheni. He made the Sheni. So what did you add on here? Right. So according to according to Pnei Moshe, way we understand is that it's not going to become according to Rabbi Yochanan, right? That it says that there is a Vlad Midoraisa. It's right. Tommy Midoraisa. But it's and you're not adding anything by putting together with something else, which is Tamei Midoraisa, because you're putting Rishon together with the Sheni. Okay, but Rishon's only going to make the Sheni a Sheni. So there's no, you're putting the Raisa. There's no Safa in level. There's no Safa in the fact that you're putting the Raisa with the Drabanan. So therefore, what are you doing wrong? Okay, so now according to most of the one then answers. No, it's about where the according to Yochanan, I should say about where the bashim of Vladatum is a shlishi, and now that's to become touched the Rishon became a sheni. But the Mashbiach has a fascinating thing here. He says here, Mashbiach says it says that where it said was shlishi. What it really said in the manuscript was shehashin, right? And it's really not an answer. It's part of the question. Shasheni shal Rishon, that's a sheni. A sheni starts a sheni, Rishon becomes a sheni. So therefore, well, you're not adding anything. It's not an answer. There was a Mishnah Shlishi. It's a part of the question. Rasuki Kushio. So and the more remains of the question. And he says that that's where the Rambam paskins like Bar Kapara, because Yerushalmi remains of the question of Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, it's fascinating Mashbiach. Okay, the Gemara goes on. Tani Beisham Ermin. Beisham says ain't something basar Torah and basar Torah. You can't be burn. You mean shame tummy with meat which shame Torah, which is tummy. So the Karmi explains basar Torah is nifsal. Basar which ain't possible, no sor Torah and basar kodesh nitma. So it's meat which is possible, but it's Torah, no sor, with meat which became tummy. So ubeisel mater, you can't. Beisel says you bring them both together. So it says adai be kapara nicha. So according to bar kapara, I understand. Okay, the beisel matter to burn meat which is possible in the Torah with meat which is tummy in the Torah, right? Serving pasul Torah and pasul Torah in pasul tumas Torah. You burn that which is possible in the with pasul tuma doraisa. And now Barka, that's Beis Hillel. Utzrichin and our Mishnah Rabbi Chima Skonanim is necessary. Tzrichina mishma the tumas difreim tumas Torah. That even tumas difreim can be burned with tumas Torah. But Adaita Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan, what is Rabbi Chima Skonanim telling us? In pasul Torah tumas Torah surfing, if you're going to tell us that pasul Torah with tumas Torah, you're so rafe, noiser with tuma. Koshki tumas Torah, so it's partial our Mishnah. Why should you burn tumas Torah and tumas Torah? Because you hold our Mishnah about tuma d'oraisa. So therefore, yeah, it's a kava. It's kava chaymer. If you can burn according to Beis Hillel, you can burn noiser d'oraisa with tuma d'oraisa. So koshki can burn tuma d'oraisa with tuma d'oraisa, even though it's a madrega. So what? So the so Gemara says Rabbi Chiyas Kanakonim Shani Mishem Beishamai Beis Hillel. Shani, the Shani here, according to Karma means he learned it. He was shown it in the name of Beishamai Beis Hillel. They were saying don't even call Beishamai it's mutter. Because in Beishamai was machmir on not burn psul Torah with tumas Torah is going to be matir one tumas Torah with another tumas Torah. Okay, according to the Mashbiach, Shani is a language of shinun. He's sharpened, and in other words, not he's coming to bring historical testimony which sharpens the statement. In other words, it's not passing the Beis Shammai, but he's being he's trying to bring historical evidence about this issue which Shammai Beis Hillel argued about, and saying we pass like Beis Hillel, and like I saw that that's what people did l'maisa. Okay, Rabbi Mona kum Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Mona said Rabbi Yosef al daited Rabbi Yochanan nicha. So let's see the carbonata. Ta Rabbi Yochanan nicha bishlam Rabbi Yochanan amar vlada tuma d'oraisa irate that vlada tum. Is going which he thought we'll tell you about that our mission talk about Vlad Tuma d'oraisa and Bar Kapara holds our mission talk about Vlad Tuma d'Rabbanan, but we can learn this carbonate the same way if we just learn like Pnei Moshe that Rabbi Yochanan holds there's a Vlad Tuma d'oraisa and Bar Kapara holds there's no such as Vlad Tuma d'oraisa. So Bishop Vlad Tuma d'oraisa I rate Nichosh is surfing also. In the same we burn Bar Kapara them are Vlad Tuma d'Rabbanan I rate. Kasha Mara Rabbi Yochanan is surfing. Why Rabbi Yochanan say burn it? Mechei lo is surfing until Rabbanan elatoin. In the days of Rabbi Yochanan, days of Rabbi China, they didn't burn to Madurabanan. They were only told to Madurabanan. So if you hold that our mission is about if our mission is about Vlada Tuma, like Bar Kapara says it's only Durabanan, so they didn't burn to us Durabanan back then. They were told them. So that's the inside. Okay, the Rabbi Yochanan, Shisha Sveikos Hayu Tolin Aleim. There were 6 Sveikos, which they were Toile. Uvusha Gozer Aleim Safin. Osha there Gozer Aleim Sveifa. So, so Rabbi Yochanan, doesn't matter because we're talking about the rice over here. But according to Rabbi, but it says that, the fact that this second statement saying Rabbi Yochanan is a coincidence. It probably can throw you off. That which Rabbi Yochanan says fake a name, Vusha goes a name. So it's not a partisan statement, Rabbi Yochanan. So the statement Rabbi Yochanan made about a general statement. So now, and that's why it's difficult on Bar Kapara, because assuming Bar Kapara agrees with this general historical statement as well. So that in Usha they were Goizer Aleim Sreifa on Sveikas, which were Taylor on previously, including Tumah D'Rabbanan. And we're going to see it momentarily. So Rabbi Chanina was kind of claim lo kohen l'ushaya. So what's Rabbi Chanina's kind of kohen before Usha, and kohen l'usha lo yisa sefer l'divrei. Kohen before Usha, they didn't burn tumah, which told me the rabbanan. They were toilet. They didn't learn kachim, which told me the rabbanan. They were toilet them. They left them around till they rotted on their own. Amalei said tipoter nitma shnima b'chli zchuchis. Came tummy through glassware. So glassware touched the mace, and the glassware touched then the basar made a tummy. So glassware came in off. It was a tummy the basar, and that was an earlier takana. So Gemara is not satisfied with that. Gemara says because I feel time I need my b'schlis chuchis. Even to say whether it came tummy b'schlis chuchis. Loche Mar Bezira, Bravunam Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah. Didn't they all say Rabbi Yossi ben Ezra East trade of Yossi ben Yochanan Yossi Traim goes to Malaretz Amim. Never goes to Malaretz Amim. Val Kleis Chuchis and a Kleis Chuchis. That somebody goes to Eretz Amim comes Tamei, even though Eretz Amim the Raisa is Torah, but they were goes and Midrabanan, and Rabbi Yehuda Omer ben Yehuda ben Tabe v'Shem Mishet goes to Klei Matchos. They add on a Xera on Klei Matchos. Klei Matchos, the Carbonator points out Klei Matchos which were Tamei, and you melted them down, made Chenim Chadoshim. So really, it should not be Tamei Midoraisa because it's Panim Chadoshim Polakan. But they said no, we're going to make them Xera on this renewed Klei Matchos, and Yerushalmi Gazru al Taras Yadayim. They were geyser on Taras Yadayim, which that Yadayim shows be Shnias Lutuma, because they come into place with come into contact very often with Tomei places. So the Gemara says Rabbi Yirmiyah, and we know that Rabbi Yirmiyah and holds that Eretz Ami Klei Zchuchis, the initial Gzeira was to be Toila, not to be sorry. So the question, you didn't answer the question, because there's Rabbi Chanina going in, they weren't burning Tluya yet. There was an Usha. They were Metameit, that's nice, but they only Metameit Matoila. So Rabbi Yossi Savar Meimah Eretz Ami Tluya Klei Zchuchis Sreifa. The Gemara says no. Rabbi Yossi, who said that the answers to Klei Zchuchis, he taka holds that Klei Zchuchis are also were b'sreifa already with time Yossi ben Ezer, and that's how Mishnah works out Bar Kapora, right? The Mishnah Bar Kapora, because even though Vlada Tuma is the Rabbanan, initially they weren't sorry for it, by Yossi ben Ezer, who was before Yossi came and said we are sorry for it. Oh, now the Gemara is going to talk about the Shisha Sveikos. Okay, we're going there, but that's already, we're way on to the next Talmud, so we'll stop here.